Thanks, Matt, for the embarrassing introduction. So the question tonight is, how can we have morality without gods? And you're going to hear three somewhat different kind of answers. I actually don't know how different they're going to be because we haven't prepared ahead of time and coordinated among ourselves. You may actually hear the same answer three times. And then we're going to open discussion, as Matt said. My approach to this is based on 2 points. First, I want to make the point that actually you cannot have morality from gods. And then I want to make the point that there are two fundamental sources for morality for human beings. So let me start with the first one, the first point. You cannot actually have morality from gods even if gods existed. That argument was made for the first time by Socrates or Plato, one of the two, because only one of them wrote, the other one just talked. So we don't know who said what. But Socrates, Plato made that argument about 2,400 years ago in a very nice short dialogue that features Socrates going to the Athenian courts eventually to answer the charges for which eventually he was killed by the Athenian democracy. And on his way to court, Socrates meets this other guy named Euthyphro, and that's the title of the dialogue is the Euthyphro because of the name of the character. And so they start chit-chatting, and Socrates says, well, Euthyphro, what are you doing here? And Euthyphro says, well, I'm here to denounce my father. And Socrates says, wow, that's a big thing. Are you sure you're doing the right thing? And Euthyphro's answer is immediate, and he says, I'm absolutely sure I'm doing the right thing. Well, how do you know? Says Socrates, whose interest and curiosity is immediately piqued. And Euthyphro says, well, I know because I know exactly what the gods think is right and what they think is wrong. So I said, wow, that's impressive. Maybe I can learn something here. So tell me, how do you know whether the gods think that what you're doing is right or wrong? And so Euthyphro launches into this discussion about the gods and what we will call today morality. And Socrates, of course, let him go on for a few minutes. And then he asks, right in the middle of the dialogue, a fundamental question, which in philosophy is known still today as Euthyphro's dilemma, because Euthyphro had no idea of how to answer that question. And in fact, as far as I know, nobody has answered that question convincingly since. So Socrates says, look, it seems to me that there are only two, I'm paraphrasing here, by the way. I haven't memorized the dialogue. Look, there is only two possibilities, it seems to me. Either the gods decide what is good and what is bad, and you do it because the gods tell you that that's the situation. Or the gods have to do what is right because they themselves realize that there is some sort of universal source of information about what is good and what is right. So Euthyphro thinks about it for a second. Yeah, that's about right. Well, which way do you go? Well, the gods really, I do what the gods tell me to do. Socrates says, well, if that's the case, then morality is essentially arbitrary. They make up their mind on the spot. They might change their mind. In fact, the Greek gods were notorious for changing their mind every other minute about what to do with things. So if you're telling me that the gods establish on their own what is moral and what is not moral, then that amounts to say that morality is in fact arbitrary. It may be a good idea for you to follow what the gods say because they're so damn powerful that they could, erase you from the face of the earth in a second, but that still doesn't make morality anything other than an arbitrary decision. Euthyphro sees the point. He's not stupid. He says, well, no, maybe not. Maybe the gods themselves, always do the right thing. They have always to do the right thing because they're good. Well, that's the second horn of the dilemma. If that is the case, then that means that there is a concept of morality, there is a concept of good and bad that is outside of and independent of the gods. So you don't need the middleman or the middle god, as it were. You can just go straight to the source. Try to figure out what is it that is right and wrong, and then just do it. Why do you need the intermediacy? Euthyphro thinks about it for a few minutes. There is a little bit of discussion. Then Euthyphro says, Socrates, it's late. I really got to go. And that's the end of the dialogue. He has no answer. Euthyphro cannot provide an answer to Socrates. It turns out that many, many philosophers have tried to provide an answer to Euthyphro's dilemma, and as far as I know, nobody's come up with any reasonable alternative. There really are only those two possibilities, and either way you go, the gods are in trouble, or the idea of deriving morality from the gods is in trouble. This is, by the way, not an argument against the existence of gods. Socrates was not an atheist. He said the gods may or may not exist, that's fine, that's out there. It's just that this is a very strong argument to tell you that they have nothing to do with morality. So whatever morality comes from, it doesn't come from gods.